Hi, this is James Lawrence, and this is Erie Street Stories. I hope you enjoyed last week's episode, The Black Cat by Edgar Allan Poe. This week we have an original story called Dead on Arrival. I think you're going to enjoy this creepy tale and exciting, interesting twist. So sit back, turn down the lights, turn off your phone, and get ready for another Erie Street story.
Dead on arrival. Bill Fetzer drove with one hand on the wheel, the other resting on a shoebox beside him. Inside was a folded note and a .38 revolver, the only two things he thought he needed. The note was short, written the night before, on lined notebook paper. "I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore." He planned to leave it with his mom, though calling her mom felt wrong these days. She hadn't called him son since her husband's funeral. She blamed him, not in words but in the way her eyes hardened whenever they met his. The gun went off by accident, he knew that, but knowing didn't change what it had taken from her. The trip was meant to be the end, his last stop before putting himself out of her misery and his own. The town sign appeared through the drizzle. "Welcome to Cedar Glen, population 2,408. He hadn't been back in 3 years. It looked smaller now, more hollow, like someone had sucked the life out of it. He pulled into the gas station on the edge of town, the kind of place where time froze somewhere around 1985. The restroom sign hung crooked on the door. He keeled the engine, climbed out, and headed toward it, when motion caught his eye. A kid, long-haired, skinny, maybe 15, came sprinting out of the shadows. Before Bill could react, the boy latched onto his forearm with teeth bared. Fire ripped through Bill's arm as flesh tore away. He screamed, yanking back, blood running hot down his wrist. The boy's eyes were red, feral, nothing human left in them. He crouched, ready to spring again. Then crack! A 2x4 smashed into the boy's skull. He crumpled into a heap, twitching once before going still. Bill staggered back, clutching his mangled arm. He looked up to see a girl holding a bloodied wood like it weighed 100 pounds. She couldn't have been more than 19. Long blonde hair matted with dirt and rain, eyes rimmed red and swollen. Tears still clung to her lashes. "That was my brother," she whispered. Bill's stomach lurched. "What the hell is going on?" She stared at him like he'd just dropped from the moon. "You don't know?" "Know what?" Her lip trembled. She lowered the board. "He turned. They all turn. It's happening everywhere." "Turn?" "Into one of them." She nodded at the boy's body, her knuckles white. "Zombies." Bill blinked. "Zombies aren't real." "You're bleeding," she said softly, her eyes dropping to his arm. He followed her gaze. Blood poured from a crescent of shredded flesh. "Oh, God," he breathed. Her shoulders sagged. "You've been bitten." Bob's pulse hammered. "So what? I'm infected now? That kid was... What the hell are you saying?" "I'm saying you'll turn, too." Her voice cracked. You were in the wrong place at the wrong time. We were on our way to a doctor in town. People say he's working on some kind of antidote. I was trying to get my brother there, but..." She glanced at the boy's body, then away again. Bill's legs felt weak. No, I can't. "I'm sorry." She wiped her eyes with the back of her sleeve. "If you want a chance, we need to go now, before it's too late. Your time is running out." Bill stood frozen, the pain in his arm pulsing like fire. He looked at her tears, her trembling grip on the board, the way her jaw clenched against her grief. And something shifted in him. He wasn't ready to die. Not like this. "All right," he said hoarsely. "Where's your car?" "Got wrecked a mile back. Yours?" He nodded toward the lot. She followed him to the rusty sedan. When she opened the passenger door, her eyes caught the shoebox on the seat. The note sat half folded, the revolver resting beside it. Her face fell. "You're going to..." "Yeah." Bill swallowed hard. I thought I didn't have a reason to stick around, but he clenched his bloody arm. I don't want to die anymore. She looked at him, questioning. My mom, she blames me for Dad's death. Said I killed him. His voice cracked. But the gun went off by accident. It wasn't my fault. I see that now. For the first time, I want to live. The rain pattered harder on the roof of the car. The girl, Britt, she finally introduced herself, closed the box gently, setting it on the floorboard. Then we'll get you to that doctor, she said. Her voice was steady now and almost fierce. We'll make sure you don't die too soon. Bill nodded, fired up the engine, and steered them toward town. For the first time in years, the road ahead felt like more than an ending. It felt like a chance. Britt sat rigid in the passenger seat, eyes darting between the shadows outside the blood-soaked towel Bill had wrapped around his arm. Doctor's office is just ahead, she shouted. Bill followed her pointing finger. The building loomed in the distance, old brick with boarded windows and a crooked fire escape clinging to one side. But what froze his breath were the shapes swarming the ground below. Dozens of them clawing at the doors, smearing blood across the glass, their mouths open and closed like broken hinges. Bill's heart sank. There's no way. Look at them. We're not giving up, Britt said sharply, her eyes flashing. She pointed to the second story. There, that window. We get the car under it, climb out through the sunroof, and jump for the fire escape. Bill barked a laugh, bitter and hopeless. That's insane. It's all we've got. You don't have to help me, Britt, he stated. With a heavy sigh, she replied, Yes, I do. He looked at her. The grief still lingered in her eyes, but beneath it was steel. What if they climb after us? Then we move faster. She put her hand over his. You said you wanted to live. Prove it. Bill tightened his grip on the wheel. God, I hope the window's unlocked. He gunned the engine. The car roared down the street, headlights cutting through the horde. Zombies turned, shrieking, arms stretching. The sedan slammed into two. Bones snapped underneath the tires, and Bill didn't let off the gas until the bumper had crunched against the wall beneath the fire escape. The swarm converged, pounding the sides of the car, smearing the windshield with bloody palms. Go! Britt screamed. Bill boosted Britt up through the sunroof, her sneakers slipping on the wet metal before she grabbed hold of the fire escape's ladder. She scrambled up, hauling herself toward the window. Bill pulled himself through, his bitten arm screaming with pain as he heaved up beside her. The car rocked underneath the weight of the dead. Fingers clawed at his jeans, mouth snapping just shy of his ankles. Windows locked! Britt hissed. She wrapped her jean jacket around her arm and smashed it against the glass. The pane splintered, then gave way with a crash. She cleared the shards and dove inside. Bill followed, stumbling onto the dusty floor as the fire escape rattled behind them. They bolted down the stairs, hearts pounding until a figure stepped from the shadows of a cluttered office. A man in a white coat, scalpel trembling in his hand. Stay back! He cried. I won't! I'm not infected! Britt gasped. She held up her hands. Please, we need your help! The man's eyes darted between them, wide and frantic, when he observed Bill's bloody arm. It might not work, he muttered. Not if it's been too long. Bill ripped the towel from his arm, showing the jagged bite. It has been like 15 minutes. Whatever the time, do it anyway. The doctor's hand shook as he readied a syringe, the fluid inside glowing faintly yellow under the flickering light. If it fails, you'll turn faster, he warned. Then let's hope it doesn't fail. Bill clenched his jaw as the needle slid into his arm. For a heartbeat, nothing. Just a drip of rainwater from a leak in the ceiling. Then the front doors burst inward, glass shattering, wood splintered, and a swarm poured inside. The doctor screamed. His scalpel clattered to the floor as the dead descended upon him. Hands ripped, teeth tore, blood sprayed the walls. His cries choked into gurgles. Britt yanked Bill toward the back. Delivery entrance! She shouted over the din. They barreled through the door, shoving past broken crates and out into the alley. Bill stumbled, adrenaline and pain blurring his vision. Britt! Britt! Bill! Britt caught his arm. Follow me! He steadied himself, panting. I have to see my mother. I need to know she's still... He stopped, unable to say the word alive. Britt looked at him, eyes still wet but unflinching. Then we go together. I've got nowhere else to go. For a long second, they just stood there in the rain, blood dripping from Bill's arm, the night alive with distant shrieks. Then Bill nodded. All right, he said. Let's finish this. They slipped into the dark streets of Cedar Glen, two survivors bound by chance, blood, and the faintest shred of hope. The cornfield swallowed them whole, rows stretching like a maze into the night. Britt ran close behind Bill, the stalks whipping at his arms, the dry leaves rattling like bones. Twice shapes lurched between the rows, shadows with hungry moans, but Bill swung his arm and shoved them aside, dragging Britt forward until the stalks thinned and the old neighborhood appeared. His mother's house stood at the end of a cul-de-sac. Porch light burned out, curtains drawn tight. Bill slowed, panting. Stay out here, he said. Britt grabbed his wrist. No, not now. If she has turned already, he said, eyes raw. I don't want you to get hurt, Britt. Please. Her jaw tightened, but after a long second she nodded. Bill slipped inside. The house was dark, heavy with silence. Mom? His voice trembled. He moved through the hall, the smell of mothballs and stale air thick in his lungs. He found her in the living room, sitting in her favorite chair. Mom, he whispered. Relief surged through him. She was alive. Then he saw the gleam in her lap, a pistol. She raised it. I knew you would show up eventually, Bill. Bill's heart stuttered. Mom, no! He lifted his hand, stepping forward. It's me! The gun thundered. The bullet tore through his forehead, his body crumpled to the carpet, his eyes still open in shock. Britt burst through the door, her scream splintering the silence. He wasn't one of them, she cried, racing to Bill's side, shaking his limp shoulders. He wasn't a zombie. His mother blinked slowly, lowering the gun. Her voice was flat, almost confused. What do you mean, zombie? Britt froze, horror crashing over her. The house was dark. The world outside groaned with the dead. But inside this house, the woman hadn't known. Britt stumbled back, tears streaking down her dirt-stained cheeks. The weight of it hit her all at once. The bite, the anecdote, the desperate run to the woman's house, all for nothing. She realized Bill never had a chance. Either way, he was dead on arrival. Thank you for tuning in to tonight's episode of Eerie Street Stories. Make sure you listen next week when we do Hide and Go Seek, another spooky tale here on Eerie Street Stories, one you're not going to want to miss. Please tell a friend, tune in next week, share, like, subscribe, and until then, beware the dark.